welcome back, sports fans. This is going to be part 3 and hopefully the last part, at least before the competition for the Pilot TV-37. I have been working on some other things in the meantime. I took a mini vacation. But I got the chassis screwed back down to the lower board with some proper number 6 round head wood screws, which I actually blackened with some brass darkener. And they didn't come out exactly the color I was hoping for, but they did come out darker. In fact, I've got another batch ready here that I'm going to be using to hold the cabinet on. I need to scrub the loose stuff off, but that should look pretty good. There were two things that I really needed to address before I completely sealed the whole thing up. And one of them was this control, well, one of them was the screws, obviously. The other was this control back here at the left was very stiff. And I got it loose weeks ago, and then it stiffened right back up. So I just put some penetrating oil in there, and it seems to have broken it free again, and I'm hoping it stays that way so I can at least adjust it and leave it in one position. The other, more important thing was that this control over here was actually missing its insulating wafer with the little screwdriver slot. So if I bring this over, I'm propping it up somewhat carefully here. You can see I have made a brand new one out of 3/4 nylon round stock. I found a chunk of this at work, and it was a pretty simple matter to stick this in my lathe, flatten one end. Actually, I think I flattened both ends for so it would sit upright in my mill vise. Put this in my my cheapo mill vise. Ran a, what was this, like an 1/8 inch end mill down one side. Flipped it over. Did the same thing down the other side for the little retention fingers. Then flipped it vertically. And I didn't have a smaller end mill to work with to make the really skinny screwdriver slot. And I didn't have any key seat cutters or anything that would be able to do that. So I just used the same one and made a quick 1/4 inch wide slot there. It's a little big, but if I use a larger screwdriver, and this one is really easy to move, so it doesn't take a lot of force, so any screwdriver that fits that width slot should be able to turn it with no problems. And then I stuck it back in my lathe and parted this piece off to the correct width, checked it with these with my calipers, and then did the same thing on the round stock. Unfortunately, my parting tool was dull as crap, so I quickly touched it up with a file and then pushed into the material until it eventually started cutting. Came out pretty decently though. In order to really get it to hold good though, I put a tiny amount of Gorilla Glue on the back of this to actually attach it to the end of the shaft here, because these wings don't really bend over the front, and I didn't want to try bending them too much in case they break off. But it is securely on there, and that should not electrocute me when I actually go to adjust the picture size, or whichever one that is. Okay, that's the vertical centering control, so yeah, I will need to fiddle with that. Which means now it is time to actually slap the top of the cabinet back on it. I don't need to screw it down yet, but I need to put it on there. I need to get an image or a pattern up on the screen and then expand everything to fit, make sure the linearity is good. Which is tricky because you can't actually control any of the horizontal stuff from the outside. Which is curious because the horizontal size and linearity controls are right here on the top of the chassis. I'm assuming, look, how I'm going to do it is put the cabinet on, leave the screws out, check to make sure it fits, and lift it up, adjust it, put it back on, and then back and forth and back and forth. So I'm going to put that on there, plug it in on the isolation transformer, and we'll see what we get. As far as a signal source, I think I might break out the B&K 1076 just so I have an actual test pattern. The grid is nice, but I can't always tell exactly where the edges of the grid are, and it might be easier to use the test pattern from the 1076 slide as a reference. So let me get all that crap set up. Okay, so the crosshatch generator and B&K thing did not go as planned. I was having issues getting a good signal. It was not syncing correctly. It was freaking out. So instead, we're just jumping to the competition here with my set in between a 12-inch and a 7-inch set. The 7-inch set and my TV-37 are actually sharing a rack mount agile modulator system, which is actively converting multiple over-the-air digital channels to their analog equivalents, and it's actually working really well. I'm getting great sync, good picture, which you can't tell because the video quality, it's in a bright room so you can't see it, but it was visible, and we were watching the football game. So I was happy, and I'm just going to bring it back home, and we're going to fiddle around with it a little more. Okay, well, I am actually back from the competition. Sorry for the delay between shots. Originally, as I was putting the thing back together from the last bit that I showed you, I got it packed up, I hooked it back up, and I was having all sorts of problems with the sync, and the video quality was really bad. I was getting popping and crackling, all sorts of artifacting in the video signal, and I conferred with one of my other collector buddies, and they figured it was probably high voltage arcing somewhere in a component, or a coronal discharge from the high voltage supply. So I spent 3 or 4 days just looking over the whole thing top to bottom, trying to isolate the problem. And I thought I had it narrowed down when I disconnected the B+ from the 4th IF tube, which goes right to the video detector stage. And I coupled in a composite video signal directly from the output of the VCR into the sync separator and video amplifier stage. That gave me a fantastic picture. Perfectly stable, no problems. So I assumed then that the problem had to be somewhere in the plate supply going to that last tube, and potentially one of the mica capacitors inside the video detector can, which does have some peaking coils in it. Well, I swapped those out and it made no difference. I checked the ones in the IF string and it made no difference. And then my collector friend suggested, well, you're using a VCR for a signal source? That really isn't the best idea. I wasn't aware of this, but apparently a lot of VCRs have really poor quality RF modulators built into them. So the sync signals, the sync pulses at the end of the video information are not super uniform, I guess. Not really all that easy for the circuits in this thing to differentiate from the normal video signal itself. So it freaks out when they're not nicely defined pulses. So the general recommendation is drive it off of a DVD player or some other signal source. Now, when I went to the event, my buddy there had a custom-built modulator rack with individual agile modulators to convert each different over-the-air digital channel into its normal analog version for 2 through 13, so that he could then directly connect with coax to any TV and be able to flip through channels just like you were doing it back when analog was still on the air. I wound up just siphoning off that system for the sake of simplicity, because I did bring my own modulator and equipment, but my signal source wasn't great. He had a proper antenna set up, he had everything the way it was done, and he had a splitter, more importantly, so it was very easy for me to tap into it. And the TV worked fine. This thing ran, and all the other TVs that were at the competition ran for over 3 hours straight with no faults. So I'm very happy with that. But what I want to test now is my own agile modulator, which is on the other end of the room, hooked up to a pair of rabbit ears using the composite video signal output from my VCR, because I currently have no other signal source. I'm going to try and rectify that soon. And we're going to be using the original accessory case rabbit ears that are built in. Now, I don't have the ability to extend them out very far because the lid does not have any means of coming off, and it doesn't have anything to rest against, so I'm not entirely sure how you were meant to lean this. There are no feet on the top to set on a table surface, and I don't think these are half hinges. At least I'm... Oh, yes, actually they are half hinges. I take that back. Okay, so there was a valid way. I just wasn't trying hard enough, but I don't really want to take it apart. I already have some twin lead hooked up between the television and the antenna circuit here, and I want to leave that in place. We got it plugged in. We got the modulator going. So I'm going to fire this up and make sure that the trip back home did not cause any problems. And then we're going to turn the lights off, and we'll see how it turns out picking up a over-the-air analog signal. My modulator is currently set for around channel 9. I remember right. There's that. I think I hear the... Yeah, tubes are lighting up. This thing produces an astounding amount of heat. The cabinet is perforated for a reason. This thing is a great hand warmer when it's fired up. Alright, so we do have high voltage. Everything is running. Fantastic. Now all I need to do is... Let's see. Alright, I put this on rewind, so I'm going to go hit play.
Standpoint on the vehicle itself. He strove for absolute simplicity of design. Kept one model and built it.
Alright, what do we got? That's more stable-ish.
Simple model that could be mass produced.
Porsche's creations, everything from supercharged Mercedes sports cars to the first successful mid-engine race cars, to the first of the Porsche roadsters that still bear his name. Undeniably, though, his most enduring.
Okay, so it still isn't perfect, but I am transmitting to this thing from across the room with a modulator, which is pretty cool. So I suppose, just to rule everything out, the next step ought to be to just connect the modulator directly and see if that improves things. Now, shorten that antenna up, yeah, our picture just completely diminishes. So, me having this one extended helps a lot. I don't have the other one extended because I don't have the room. Well, let's try. Hang on a second, I'll be right back. Well,
this is unlike anything else on the American road.
It's still glitching a little bit. I don't have the antennas extended as far as they can absolutely go because I'm running out of table height here, unfortunately. I don't really want to take my chances. I'm starting to run into other things. Let's see. That is full extension on the left one, and I think I'm at full extension on the right side. Yeah, that is as far out as they go. That is about 3 feet. We're still getting a little bit of trouble with the sync. But the picture quality is not bad. But then again, I don't know if this would improve if I was using something other than a VCR. For all I know, the composite output signal from the VCR is just as bad as the RF modulated signal. So we're still getting a little bit of jitter in there. Okay. Well, next thing then is to just hook this thing up directly, because realistically, if I was going to set the modulator up sort of permanently with my collection, it would most likely be through a balun and a piece of coaxial wire than trying to send it over wirelessly. Okay, this is further evidence that the problem I'm having is not internal to the set. You can see the picture as well. It was more stable. The modulator is actually sitting underneath the table right now, and I only have a pair of alligator clip leads coming off of the coax out connection. And I realized that when I pulled them up above the bench to run them and connect it to the input here, that I suddenly got the signal back through the antenna. So this is still broadcasting at a distance of maybe 2 feet, give or take. But
styling was characteristically European.
Audio is fine. Image is only occasionally having sync problems. So, again, this is a very low power device. In fact, do I have it cranked up all the way? What they don't have is a kind of indicator that lets you know if it's at absolute maximum output power. There is a modulation control LED, but if I can find... Okay, so this is the output. If I turn it down, we lose it. That is maximum output right there. There's absolute maximum. Now, I could try adjusting the video modulation and see if we freak out over that. Yeah, that has an overage, so we want to be careful not to overmodulate that. Audio modulation. Let's see. A little over, okay. I'll back that off. Alright. But, again, what's it sound like?
Importers decided to copy.
Sounds fine. Video is stable. Video is watchable. Again, in a dim room. Now, we did have, and the video does show, we did have lights going. Oh, that's funny. If I am in direct signal path between the clip leads that are behind me and the TV itself, my body capacitance screws everything up. If I grab one of the clip leads, it peters out. If I hold one over here, it gets a little stronger, that sort of thing. But yeah, this is literally, I'm doing nothing but draping a pair of alligator clip leads across the table and getting a usable signal. So again, good signal source obviously is the solution to all my problems. It does look like I need to scoot the image up a little bit, but when I was connected to the modulator rack assembly, the image seemed to be pretty well centered. So I'm okay with this. Linearity looks fine. The vertical linearity, he's not crushed or anything. Horizontal linearity looks fine, so I don't have to fiddle with any of that. Now the whole brightness and contrast thing on this is a little interesting because the contrast control is literally adjusting the plate voltage or plate current to the whole IF strip. So I am adjusting how strongly it's picking up signals by doing that, and thus the actual video signal strength is being affected. See, you kind of have to set the contrast in one place and then tweak the brightness, crank up the contrast, turn down the brightness until you find just the right spot where the blacks and whites and grays all seem to be happy. Which is supposed to be not when contrast is cranked all the way up. You're not supposed to just completely drive it to maximum. But I am happy with this. Again, it'll probably just get connected permanently to a signal source and left that way. Now if we tune off frequency, we'll lose it. You can see there's not a lot of room for error there.
Rounding, obviously, of the...
But if we switch off to the lower band, we lose it, click it back, locks right in. So, I am very happy with how this is playing. And, yeah. The next thing really is going to be fixing up my Precision E200C, verifying that its output frequencies are, relatively accurate to within the original spec of the instrument. And then I'll probably go through this guy and do an IF alignment. Let's get nice and toasty. And I've got one or two other 7-inch sets, my Motorola VT71 and the 7-inch Airline Portable that probably need to have an alignment done. And I'm actually been working on getting the Airline Portable reassembled because I finally have the cabinet on it refinished. Or reupholstered, I suppose. So that is going to do it for now on the Pilot TV-37. I'm stoked to have this working again, and I'm thankful to all the folks that voted for me in the competition. Sadly, I did not even make third place. The honors for that go to Bruce with his 12-inch set. It seems that bringing a television that is much easier to watch to a competition is probably the key there. And also, he had some good programs running on there with his vintage Looney Tunes cartoons versus us just watching the football game. That being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.